replacing the alternator on my 04 GMC Sierra. It's a 6.6 liter Duramax in it. First thing you want to do is get your serpentine belt off, and you'll need a 1/2 inch drive ratchet. Actually, I'm going to be using a 1/2 inch drive breaker bar. So right down here is the tensioner, and you can see I've got my breaker bar in that square hole in the tensioner. You'll see it in the front of it. So what you need to do is pull towards the passenger side to get the tension off of your belt. I usually start right here with the AC, pull it down, and then you can let go of your tensioner. Take your bar off. Actually, the first thing you should be doing is taking off the negative battery cable. And this thing has 2 batteries, so I'm going to have to go to the other side and do it as well over there. So the next thing would be to get this wire off here, and there's a little tab from the back. Just pull it out with a small screwdriver. You have to hook in behind the tab and then pull the tab out. And be careful how you pull this out, don't pull the wires out. And then you've got the main power wire that comes into here. Just take that rubber boot off. And this is a 10 mil. So this is a pretty easy alternator to get at and pretty easy to change because it's only 2 15mm bolts here. Okay, I've got an assortment of different things to try here. I'm going to first try this J-bar. I think that's probably about the easiest thing. Just pry that up. There we go. Out she comes. Maybe. Alright. Okay, the other one was a pretty tight fit. So I'm kind of expecting this to be tight as well. Okay, this is a very light rubber mallet. Very light. I'll notice I'm hitting on this rounded part here. That's a little stronger than the fins. Don't hit on the fins. Okay. Tap it the other way a little bit more yet. The holes are just about lined up. This one down a little too far. They're both quite close. Okay, after a lot of prying and tugging at it, I finally got the bolts all lined up in there. I'm just going to tighten them up. Now the next thing you should do is have a good look at your belt. I'm going to turn the inside out and check for any major cracking. A little bit isn't going to hurt. And you also want to make sure that all your pulleys are in good condition. There's 2 idler pulleys and then another idler pulley attached to the tensioner. So those 3 you should spin them and just make sure that they're not making any noise. And they should spin quite freely. So if you look at the belt routing diagram, that's an idler pulley there, that's an idler, and this is also an idler, and there's your alternator right there. So these 3 for sure, make sure that they spin freely. It wouldn't hurt perhaps to check the other things as well. So I checked all my pulleys and everything checks out okay, and I forgot to mention one thing. Just make sure you check the sides of your belt as well, make sure that there's no fraying, make sure that it doesn't look like it's jumped a tooth or anything at all. So if your belt looks okay, then it's just a matter of making sure that the belt is going to go over top of all the pulleys where it belongs, and make sure it's all in the grooves where it should be. You might have to refer back to your belt routing diagram just to make sure you got everything back in place where it should be. So once again, put the breaker bar, or I call it a Johnson bar. I've been corrected. So anyway, put the breaker bar back into the square hole in the tensioner and pull towards the passenger side. Make sure that the belt stays on everything where it's supposed to, and bring that end up, and you're all set. So the only thing left to do now is the wiring part of it. I already put some dielectric grease in there last time when I was checking this thing, so I recommend putting some in there if there isn't already some there. And then put this one back on. I already took the nut off before I started putting it in. It's just a small nut, so it doesn't really have to be that tight. And there's probably a torque on there, but I don't know what that is. Okay, and put the rubber boot back on the end. Hook up the 2 batteries and give it a test start. And before you start it up, just have a look one more time at your belt and make sure that it's in all the grooves properly, and then fire her up. And I should have showed you the light and the warning message that was on before. Right there is the voltmeter, and above it is a light with the battery symbol, and the battery light was on, and down here it had a message that said battery not charging. So it's all gone, good as gold. 359,000 clicks. everything's looking good. Thanks for watching. Subscribe if you like, and make sure you hit like if you like.